And the way that Point City works is that you'll have a deck of double-sided cards. One side of the card is going to have one of 5 different types of resources, and then the other side of the card is going to have some type of building. You're going to be randomly dealing these cards out into a 4x4 grid, and after that grid of cards is all set up, players are going to be taking turns performing a set of actions on their turn. And the first action you can perform is an optional one, but if there is a full column or a full row that is entirely resource cards, then you're allowed to flip one of those over, revealing the building on the opposite side. And this is just a rule that's in place to ensure that there's always a building available on your turn. But before you go ahead and take a building card, you're gonna have to make sure that you're able to build it, because when you take a card, you build it immediately. So that means you cannot take a building unless you have the required resources that you need to build it, and that will be printed on the card. And there's a whole bunch of different building cards in this game, but some of them do have some resource icons located in the top left corner of the card. And what that means is that once you've built that building, on all of your subsequent turns, you can use that icon once per turn in order to cover the cost of one of the matching icons on any buildings that you are able to build. Of course, the buildings can also have a number of victory points that they're worth at the end of the game, or they might have the civic icon. And whenever you build a building that has the civic icon, that's going to allow you to take one of the civic tokens. And these tokens work all the same. They're going to have some sort of set collection or score an objective for you to try and achieve. You're going to be scoring a certain number of victory points each time that you're able to fulfill that condition. But when it comes to actually taking a card from the tableau, on your turn, you're just allowed to take 2 cards, and they have to be orthogonally adjacent. This means that you can't just pick and choose whichever cards that you want. You're going to have to try and see which pair of cards you think is the most beneficial to you, and then you'll be able to take those 2 cards as long as they are adjacent to each other. And any cards that were taken are going to be replaced by new cards from the main deck. But one thing to note here is that any resource cards are going to be replaced with building cards, and any building cards that were taken are going to be replaced with resource cards. And once the resource deck has been completely depleted, that's going to trigger the end of the game. And then the player with the most victory points from their different buildings, as well as the different civic objectives that they're able to fulfill, will win the game.